The Many Saints of New York is the new Sopranos prequel movie that we've heard a lot about for a few years now. That was coming, and it came out on HBO Max and in theaters today, and I wanted to talk about it because I have an interesting relationship with this movie. First of all, when The Sopranos came out, I was not alive. I was not born yet. So, my first introduction to The Sopranos was when they first dropped this trailer for this movie. I didn't know it was called The Many Saints in New York. I didn't really know what this movie was. I didn't know it was part of the Sopranos thing. I saw the trailer, looked really good. I said, hey, I should go check out the series. So I watched the series, absolutely loved it. Became my second favorite show of all time. Number one is BoJack Horseman, but this is my second favorite show. So I've been highly anticipating this movie. I saw a lot of fans, though, complaining this film was unnecessary, didn't need to happen. And I get that because I will tell you, a lot of what happens in the show and in this, or what a lot of what happens in this movie is hinted at or kind of told to you in this, in the actual show, but it's told and now you're just seeing it in this movie. So I get that kind of feeling that this is unnecessary, this doesn't really need to exist. But at the same time, I still want to see what they do with it. And so I watched it, and I really like this movie. I think it's, first of all, the cast is incredible all around. The incredible cast here. And I will say, this film is a little unnecessary. Like, it doesn't really need to exist. We don't really need a prequel to The Sopranos, but this movie feels like, imagine you're like, you hadn't seen family in a few years, you go to a family reunion and you have a great time. That's kind of what this movie is. I would equate this movie best to the Breaking Bad movie that came out on Netflix a while back, El Camino, where Breaking Bad ended perfectly. People were saying, hey, we don't need more to the ending of Breaking Bad. It's a great ending. And I'm like, yeah, you don't. But then you watch that movie, and it's a good movie. It's fun. It's well written. It's a good movie. It adds things. But overall, you would have been fine and satisfied with just the ending we got. Same thing with this. It doesn't really need to exist, but as it exists, it's incredibly well acted. It's a beautiful looking movie. It's well paced. The music's good to it. It really captures the 1970s aesthetic to it. That kind of look to it. It has a nice grit look to it. The entire cast again is incredible, top to bottom, excellent, and it does add things to the series that are amazing. There are certain characters that really didn't get a spotlight or were only just hinted on upon in the original series, The Sopranos, and now they get a full-on spotlight in this series, or not in this series, in this movie, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed what this movie added, because again, I think this movie did add, but not enough to where I was like, oh, you know, if you're just a casual viewer of the Sopranos, you really need to see this movie. No, I would say this is for like, really hardcore fans who love the Sopranos and just want more, like me. And I really enjoyed that, and I love this movie, and I really am happy with this movie. I'm satisfied. Kind of, it was kind of just what I wanted. I think it was good, and you guys can let me know your thoughts with this one. I do think this film has an unfortunate release. I think this is one of those HBO Max titles where this should have never been planned to go to theaters, because the simple fact is, the Breaking Bad movie, El Camino, was exclusive to Netflix. Did way better on Netflix because of the simple fact that you can go on Netflix and you can binge all of Breaking Bad and its sequel show, Better Call Saul, right now. You can do that. right? And I wish this had a similar fate to that movie where it was just exclusive to HBO Max and you could binge it with The Sopranos. Because how much better would that do? You know, it's kind of a little bit weird, right? Because Sopranos has been over for like over a decade now, I think. Yeah, somewhere in there. Um, you know, so I'm sure there are people who love The Sopranos. There's a huge fan base, right? That show's amazing. People still talk about that show to this day. It changed the landscape of TV. Everybody talks about that, right? But the simple fact is, though, your average moviegoer probably hasn't watched 6 seasons of The Sopranos, you know? And I think that it being on the platform of HBO Max, where you can binge it next to the series, would have helped this movie a lot more. I also just think this movie isn't going to compete well with Venom this weekend or Adam Sandler, so it's just not going to do that well. Not that this movie was a super expensive movie to make and it's going to be a huge bomb or anything like that. No, I don't think that, but I do think it's just like Adam's Family 2, you know, that's a family movie, so of course families are going to go see that. Venom 2 is is obviously going to be number 1 at the box office. This film just didn't need to really be in theaters. It should have just been HBO Max exclusive, and I think that would have benefited this film way more. You know, I I as a huge Sopranos fan, I would be cool seeing this movie in theaters, but the reality is it doesn't need to be in theaters. But I really enjoyed this movie. You guys can let me know your thoughts on that. Like, share, and subscribe. Do all that, and I'll see you guys next time.